Okay, so here we are for part 2. In this part, we're going to take a look at what the buttons are and what they do. I'm tempted to go into the menus with you here, but I really don't want to. I want to wait until another video to go through the actual menus with you. So right now, we're just going to start with what the buttons are. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to turn the unit on, which is, super important. Most people need to know that. So it's the front button on the front of the unit. There are no other buttons surrounding it. The button, it sort of faces you. It's at the front there. You hold it in for about 3 seconds-ish. Give it a second. It'll chime. Just like that. And here it is, and it turns on. The rest of the buttons are not on that sort of a support for the monitor. They're on the base of the stand, is what we're going to call it. And they're in sort of a L shape where the ledge of the L is facing up. So we have two buttons, one above the other, and then the rest of them are arranged horizontally. So we're going to start from the front, the top left button first, and that button is the contrast. So here's the deal. I have a rule. If I want to demo something or look at it for the first time, I'm going to do it using something that interests me. And if you know me at all, if you really know me, I love cats. And I saw this National Geographic magazine, and that it said the genius of cats. And I said, that needs to be what I put under my video magnifiers when I demonstrate them. So another reason I picked this is because it's that 8.5 by 11 size, and I think it gives a pretty good idea of what like a worksheet or something like that would look like if you put it under the unit. So I'm just going to flip to a random article that just looks pretty standard, and I'm going to place it under the magnifier just for reference. So I'm going to bring the magnification all the way down, just so that it's so we have the same starting point. The camera, by the way, is right here on the right side of the monitor. And if you are familiar at all with the Clover books, this is the distance camera. So this is the distance camera at the top here, this cylindrical camera that rotates around. And there's this camera that faces the table, and that's the camera we're going to be focusing mostly on today, although there are some distance camera things we're going to look at. So as you can see, this is kind of semi-disappointing, by the way, to me, that this, even at the lowest magnification, if I were to line it up at the top, it doesn't even quite get half of this page. Actually, I would say it gets a third of it in the camera. So that's kind of disappointing to me, but that's just me. I kind of wish it had more of a full page, but it doesn't. At least not this particular unit. But that's okay because we can make it work. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this upper left. It's for the contrast. So if I were to switch this knob, you can see that the contrast of the video magnifier is moving. So we only had a few selections of color, and that's because that's what's available in the menu. So don't worry, there are more. There's the blue on green the blue on yellow and the green on black. All of those are available. They're just not here right now. And we'll look at how to do that, okay? The next thing I want to show you is if I were to press down on the top of that knob.
Freeze image.
I have frozen my image. So now I'm going to pick up my thing, and the image remains. So now I'm going to unfreeze it.
Live image. And
it's live, back to being a live image now. So that's what that first top left button does. The button that's closest to what I'm going to call the bottom left corner is your magnification button. This is what you would be using to increase your magnification level. So I'm going to bring it down here to where the actual text is so you get a better idea. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that magnification in. Oh, look at that. I need to move it over a little bit to bring to where I want. But here's the thing. So I brought it down here kind of to put this in here. However, what's really cool is this is magnified, and I can choose to navigate my print by moving the actual document. But honestly, it's going to be hard when I start trying to move to read over to this right side, because it isn't, I'd have to do like this and move it on top of the base, and I really don't want to do that. But there is a neat thing. So if I use my joystick, I can move my camera, moving back and forth. And I think sometimes what happens is that camera, sometimes even though I can't see it on the monitor, I think what happens sometimes is it focuses on something that is something that you can't see here, and the camera's focusing, and that's why it has the autofocus problem. So, just be mindful that if your hand is close, that it might be trying to autofocus on your hand and not the text. So kind of back up, give it a minute, then come back in. I kind of forget about that sometimes. So, but it is kind of neat. You can kind of move back over to this first column if I wanted with this joystick, and just move down to read it. When I get to the bottom though, you will see there's a red line. It's hard to see if you have low vision, I think, but it's there. Another thing you can do is this is a touch screen, so you can scroll with your fingers up and down to the top and the bottom and whatever, and see, you'll get to the top edge and it'll give you a warning here. I think sometimes moving your hands in the way of what you're looking at can be challenging. It kind of depends on the student or the adult using it. So I like to tell people about both options. You have choices. And by the way, you can also pinch to zoom because this is a touch screen. Again, I like to kind of just tell people about, the buttons and options first. And honestly, touchscreen capability on a video magnifier is semi-new. So honestly, sometimes I forget it's there, but sure, don't anybody. So it is a nice option too. So moving over, like we said, this is the joystick, and that is located to the right of the magnification. To the right of the joystick is this menu button. And like I said, I'm not going to get too far into the menus in this video, other than to show you that you can get into them and out of them by a couple of different ways. The first thing I'm going to show you is the on-screen menu. If I just tap this, you have an on-screen menu that shows up along the top. And these are all interactive with your touch screen. Light off. You can adjust the brightness here. You can see the battery.
Full battery.
It says my battery is full. I can adjust my contrast and my saturation, and those are all just by touching it. If I leave it alone for about 5 seconds, it will dismiss itself. It hasn't been 5 seconds yet. There, now it has. So the screen will auto dismiss. So if you forget how to get rid of it or whatever, it'll auto dismiss. But you can also dismiss it just by tapping that menu button again. If you hold this menu button, it brings you into this other menu. Again, we're not going to go through it. I'm going to get out of it now.
Magnifier.
By holding, I'm going to just hold that menu button again. To the right of that menu button is the switch camera option. So this is how you would move between this camera that's looking at your text and this camera that's looking at your distance, or your mirror viewing, or what we're going to call flipped view, and I'll show you that shortly. So
distance view. Distance
view. So now it's aimed across the room. Honestly, I can't remember half the time where the camera is, so I have to use my finger to figure out where it's pointing and kind of orient myself that way. There's a lot of junk on these tables, and I apologize for that, but what I really want to know is what time it is, because I'm hungry. Oh, there's a clock. I want to make it a little bigger. Oh, Well, it's pretty darn close to noon, so explains why I'm hungry. So that's the distance. If I wanted, of course, I could bring it to mirror view. I do not want to see my own face on that screen, so I'm deliberately moving it somewhere else. So that's the mirror view. Now here's what's really neat. So this is the flip view, and I'm going to kind of face that camera so that it is horizontal.
Flip view.
And the reason they have this as an option is for a couple of different things. And see, now I'm moving my hands away and now it's auto-focusing itself just fine. But if you're trying to write, this is much easier because if you're trying to write under this camera, it might be a little bit more limiting to you. So what's nice about this is I can change where this camera points. I can have it point back a little further to a location a little bit more further. I don't know, like if I had a worksheet I was working on and wanted to back out, so I'm going to press my locator on by pressing just the magnification button here. And then if I find where I want to fill in, then I can press that locator button again.
Locate off.
And it will zoom into that space. And see, it autofocus is really nice that way. You just have to learn the little tips and tricks about the devices and kind of play with it a little bit. You learn over time. But so you could, you know, depending on where you're signing or where you're writing, this can be moved. Actually even out a little bit, in a little bit. It's got a lot of, you know, flexibility. You could even do, honestly, if you wanted, you can flip it the other direction.
Flip view.
And flip view it. And of course, if you do that, you have to bring the camera so it faces down or to the side or however you want it. But just so you know, it's got a lot of magnification and positioning options. So I kind of like that. I'm going to bring my camera back to my text view here. To my text view, and I'm going to bring my camera up. And actually, I'm going to stow it along the side so that it's out of the way. And just so that I don't accidentally hit it, or other kids don't accidentally hit it, or, you know, all of that stuff. So those are the buttons, pretty much. I'm just going to really quick go through the ports on the side here. But before I do that, I'm going to shut this off. So I'm going to hold this for about 3 seconds. Gives you a little happy face on the screen. I kind of like that. It's really cute. So I'm going to release this suction cup so that it comes up a little bit more by twisting it so that it comes away from the table. I'm going to pick it up a little bit. So these ports along the side, you have the charging port on the bottom, and you have the USB port for whatever unit you want to use to mirror on the mirror pad on this port. So that pretty much covers that. I do really quick, now that I think about it, I'm going to move this back. So I'm going to pick this like little tab up. Make sure that I'm supporting the unit on the back here so that, again, this is meant to be picked up and moved, but, you know, carefully. So, you know, don't, you know, flip it like a pancake. That's kind of not how we want to do this. So I'm going to stabilize it again. But if I want to, this can also be adjusted in a portrait way. And I'm going to explain how that works when we look at the menus. So I hope this has been helpful. We'll see you in part 3.